welcome to the Winds, and glad you could make us a part of your Sunday once again. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy from Park Place Lanes in Wyndham, and to start the month of December, a brand new series beginning today.
It should be a great ladder. 36 pins separated all 5 bowlers, but only 6 pins separated the bottom 4.
Okay, a 4-week series as always, and we have some big scores among this roll-off group. We'll tell you about the rest of the scores in a minute, but let's introduce the 2 guys you'll be watching today in our first of the 4-week series. Our number 5 seed comes from Amesbury, Massachusetts. Hasn't been with us for a while, Dennis Shute.
Okay, Dennis comes in averaging 124, high single 184, roll-off score 677.
And again, as I mentioned, it's been quite some time since Dennis has been able to join us here on the Winds. We're glad to have him back. And the man he'll be bowling against actually had the very same roll-off score, but by virtue of the tiebreaker, he becomes the number 4 seed from Atkinson, New Hampshire, Frank Rose.
Okay, Frank averaging 130, high single 202, and as you said, 677 roll-off score, and both bowlers representing Park Place Lanes.
All right, that's right. A little natural rivalry going here in the first week of our 4-week series. And, of course, we have our bonus ball contest coming up a little bit later on in the show. We had a winner last week, so we'll recycle it back to $20. We've got 3 strings of bowling coming up between Frank Rose and Dennis Shute, and we'll get it started right after we have these messages. Don't go away. All right, welcome back to Candlepin Stars and Strikes here at Park Place Lanes. We already told you about Frank Rose and Dennis Shute, all tied in the roll-off. They'll settle it here to see who goes on. Peter Flynn will be here next week, our number 3 seed. Dan LaPlume hasn't been here in quite some time. He's our number 2 seed in this series. And a very first-timer. How about that, Dan Murphy? Brian Crowell, our number 1 seed with that 713.
I'm surprised he hasn't been here before now, though. He's a great Candlepin bowler.
Well, we'll see him in a few weeks, but right now we're going to see Dennis Shute start this match on lane 32 here at Park Place. Dennis was last with us in doubles competition. That was back around New Year's of '92. He was partnered with Dottie Larick in our mixed doubles series. They won a match before being eliminated in that series. The last time Dennis was here in singles competition was January of '88, almost 6 years ago. And he had a nice run for himself back then, Dan. He won 4 matches in a row to win a series. That was prior to the initiation of the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions, which Dennis was pointing out to me before the show began. He said, I ran the table and didn't have it back then.
Flush on the head pin this time for Dennis. 247 on the left, 610 on the right. Piece of wood behind the 2-pin. May give him help with the 610, but may cost him the 4-7. See where it doesn't deflect the ball. Well, we'll never know. He's too far to the left.
And it's a 7 for a 17 start for Dennis. And now a gentleman making his very first appearance here on Stars and Strikes, Frank Rose.
And there's a story behind the story there, too.
There is.
He made it one other time and got here warmed up and had a back problem, and the alternate was used. So
that was back in March of '92. Frank qualified for the program, and unfortunately his back kicked up on him and he wasn't able to compete, but now he's here and ready to go, and he's bowling ironically against a guy that he works with. Not in the same department, but they both work at AT&T in North Andover.
Frank moves over to lane 31 here at Park Place Lanes.
Just missing the head pin to the left.
4 horsemen right plus the 4-7. No wood. No playable wood for him.
Almost. And the 10.
And a 1-pin advantage for Frank Rose after 2 frames.
That may be partially responsible for the huge crowd that we have here for this match. The fact that both of these guys are from Park Place, do a lot of their bowling here.
Standing room only now.
Dennis Shute now looking at the 3, 4, and 6 with some wood that may help, and it's looking better.
Still got to concentrate on taking the 3-pin out. After that, he wants a little right, a little left. He could make it. No, it's right down the middle. So 3, 6 still remain. That's what he wanted to do. 10 bucks, 27 through 3 now for Dennis Shute. Still looking for our first mark of the match.
The final roll-off for this series was held at the Exeter Lanes, Exeter, New Hampshire. We want to thank the whole crew there, including Rob Ficara and John DeFico and all the rest of the gang over there for their help in helping us coordinate the roll-off for this series.
Oh, good try there. Split the 3, 6. Just left the 2, 8. But a pretty good effort.
And the 10 for Dennis Shute, 37 through 4. Still looking for that first mark in this match.
I'd say these bowlers are trying to figure the lanes out, but they bowl here, so must be the lights.
Frank Rose in the pocket on lane 32.
2, 4, 5. Triangle for a spare leaf.
Yes, there's that first mark. The triangle looks so easy when it goes.
Yes. And that to the left, to the right actually, a half dozen on the spare though, and another makeable spare. 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 8. Piece of wood behind the head pin shouldn't bother him too much.
Oh yes,
2 in a row.
Frank Rose puts up back-to-back spares, and we get another look at that one.
Well, let's see if this is a wake-up call for Dennis Shute now. Trailing by 7 plus the fill that Frank Rose will put on that spare in the 4th next time up.
Brooklyn pocket hit for Dennis Shute, carrying an extra pin or 2.
And that was a big one to go down, that 10 pin. This gives him an actual spare lead, the 5, 7, and 8. But he's got a nice piece of wood in back of the 5, which should deflect toward the 7 pin. Now, again, he misses the object pin, being that 5.
And the 9 box. Dennis Shute from Amesbury, Mass. He mentioned works at AT&T Technologies in North Andover. Oh, there's a big first ball. All of them that time for Dennis, his first mark.
And it's a big one, the strike. Picks on the 1-3 pocket, trips the 4, and finally the 9.
2 spares in a row Frank Rose is working on now. With the fill again, not a bad break considering it could have been a spread eagle. Not much to shoot at, of course, but it is a 6 on the fill.
3, 6, 10 on the right, but with a 2 pin, which is directly across from that 3. Very difficult spare leaf.
And the 10, a 60 half for Frank. Frank from Atkinson, New Hampshire. He and his wife Donna have 2 children, Karen and David. And Frank works as a senior engineer at AT&T in North Andover. Oh, nice shot. Frank Rose with a big spare in the 6. That was a pretty one.
3, 4, 6. Watch him split the 3 and the 6. Just jumps the 3 into the 4. Great shot. No dead wood or playable wood for Frank to use either. That was all done in his own. Dennis Shute working on a strike. Oh boy, the 189. Spread eagle plus the 5.
Well, maybe better that than a spread eagle.
Exactly, and he's working on a strike, so it gives him another bonus ball right here. But you're right, with the 5 pin in there, if he splits a 2-4, the 3-6, that 5 pin sometimes helps you. Watch this.
Oh!
There it is.
Oh.
Oh. It helps the 5 pin off, the 3 pin off the 5, and then into the 2-4-7, and he was able to clear out the 2-4, but just the 7 pin remained.
So that first ball didn't hurt him. He's still got to find 9 fill on the strike. Let's take another look at that.
Watch the 3 pin into the 5, and then carries right between the 2 and the 4, knocks both of them down. Never touched the 7.
Dennis, a light pocket hit this time.
I'd like to see that 10 pin go down, but it doesn't. 4, 7, 8 triangle in the left-hand corner plus the 10. And he's trying to direct the wood to stop.
That is a triple piece of wood in front of the triangle now.
You never know how that's going to react, but he has to play it. You can't get at the triangle without going through the wood. Kicks this way. Oh, second piece of wood may have took some of the momentum out of that wood that was coming in contact with the 4 and causing it to stand up. Tough break there for Dennis Shute.
That piece of wood still way out in front of the 4 pin. Dennis covers it for the 10. And now Frank Rose stepping up, working on a spare again. That fine cut shot a moment ago.
Oh, wow.
Well, that one obviously slipped right out of his hand.
Yeah, he squeezed a little too tight in that one. Carried the ball to the left. Usually if you slip out of your hand, you keep the ball to the right more often than not. That time he just pulled the ball completely to the left and checked just the 7 pin. Sure, he'd love to have that one back.
Gets out of it with the 9, and it's a 5-pin lead for Frank Rose.
And of course, spare 1-9. That's just like 2 10 boxes, so no benefit of that spare at all. And as Doug said, lead remains at 5.
Oh, big first ball for Frank Rose, leaving the 6-pin. The runner-up in this match will get a check for $100. The winner, oh, Frank slips by the single pin. The winner gets Peter Flynn next week.
Something to look forward to.
The $10, and it's still a 5-pin difference. Dennis Shute for his final 2 now. In game 1, crossing over, just missing the head pin, but he's got a spare lead.
Yeah, that being the 1-3-6.
Yes, off the wall. Doesn't matter how, it matters how many.
That's right. And you see a little flush in the head pin, but he gets a nice sidewall action over the 3 to carry the 6. And a little bit of a momentum swing here with Frank throwing the 1 on that spare. Gave new life to Dennis Shute. Comes back with a spare.
For Dennis, that was his first spare of the match. Almost the identical ball he threw on lane 32. This time you'll have the 1, 3, and 10.
That's right. This time the 10 is up, the 6 is down. But a decent fill of 7 on the spare. After being down the whole game, if he was to pick this one up, he could take the lead in this first match, depending on what Frank Rose does.
Yes. Again, using the sidewall. Watch the head pin. Actually, it was the 3 pin.
So just a domino effect all the way down. So that gives him 112 in the 10th plus the ball. Frank Rose, to keep the lead, will have to throw at least 1 more.
And an 8-pin drop for a 120 for Dennis Shute in the opening game. Frank Rose at 90 through 8, as you saw, so he'll need 2 marks to take the lead, and there's a good chance at 1. How about that? Why leave it to chance?
Well, that was a help right there, because he just had a few bad boxes there with a fill on that spare and then missing a single. I'm sure he was glad to see them all go down and have to worry about throwing that second ball. This time flushing the head pin. 3-6, 4-7. Remember, he cut the 3-6 into the 4 earlier. This is a little easier as their 4-7 are further back. Not this time, though. So Dennis Shute will have the lead, but not by many.
No. Well, heck, they bowled 5 games in the roll-off, and they were tied. They're still almost tied. There's only a 4-pin difference after 1 game. Dennis Shute, a 120. Frank Rose, a 116. Game 2 coming up, along with our bonus ball contest address, so you can win some cash and prizes. Don't go away. Hey, perhaps we'll have another one today in our bonus ball contest. Be sure and send your regular size postcards only with your name, your full address, and the number from 1 to 10. The number, of course, representing the number of pins you think will drop on the bonus ball thrown by our winning bowler at the end of the show. And mail them on in to Park Place Lanes, Route 28, Windham, New Hampshire, 03087. Of course, if we draw your name out of the TV, you will automatically win a TV50 NHCBA consolation prize. But if your guess of the number of pins that drop matches the actual pin drop, then you'll also win the cash in the jackpot, and you'll win a brand new set of bowling balls from Paramount Industries. So will the bowler, in fact.
Frank Rose up on lane 32 to begin the second game, trailing by just 4 pins.
And speaking of last week, if you missed it, last week we got our second qualifier to the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions to finish Thanksgiving weekend. Joe Ashline throwing a huge 441 to beat Chris Sargent. So right now it's Joe Ashline and Mark Gregory already qualified. And one guy from this group will be the next to qualify. Perhaps one of these 2 gentlemen, if they can string together 4 straight wins.
It's a 2-5 and a rocking 8-pin in the back.
Yes, for the spare. Using the wood that time.
Well, that was a smart move by Frank. It not only gives him a chance for maybe that wood to do some damage, but it kept the ball in play right straight back into the 5 and the 8 pins. Of course, the 8 was a real problem with it being the sleeper in the back. Dennis Shute, lane 32.
With the 9 drop, leaving the 4-pin. Waiting for that wood to settle. It looks like it's going to nestle right up against the 4-pin for Dennis.
Wants to stay up on the pin above the red line.
No problem. Mark number 4 for Dennis Shute. Big pocket hit, strike on spare. Oh.
When you let that ball go and went in the pocket, I says, oh, that's a strike, and then I suddenly had to stop right here. I thought the 10-pin was going to stay up. 2 marks in a row for Dennis Shute. Pressure back on Frank Rose, filling a spare.
With 7. Talked about the tie in the roll-off. Both of these guys throwing 677s in the 5-string final roll-off at Exeter Lanes. The tie is broken by virtue of the highest single game thrown in the roll-off by the 2 bowlers. The highest single game for Frank Rose was 173. The high single for Dennis was 163. So by virtue of that 10-pin differential, Frank Rose gets the 4th seed, which in this case means he gets last at bat, if you will.
Break there off the head pin, leaving just the 1 and the 2 for Frank Rose.
Yes, for the spare. Third time in a row that Frank has marked over on lane 31. And that's his 6th mark overall.
Oh, Dennis working on the strike now. Another one right in there, and that's the double. Again, no doubt about this one. 9-pin drop or a strike. It was buried right in the 1-3 pocket. Perfect so far with a spare and 2 strikes. Important ball right here. A little lighter hit this time.
Pretty good mix, though. 8.
But the 3-7 left. 4 pieces of playable wood on the deck, but I think he's going to have to go after the 3-pin. And as long as he doesn't hit it flush, he's got a chance of the ball or the 3-pin going over and clearing out the 7. Well, he could play that wood too, the way it's angled. Let's see what he does. Oh, he's going after the 3. That close. Look at this.
Well, he touched it. He hit it, but it's not going to go over. 9 on the 2nd strike. And the 10 for Dennis. We'll take a break right here. 77 through 4 for Dennis Shute. Frank Rose at 36, and he'll be working on a mark when we return to Park Place Lanes in a minute. Don't go away. Rose working on a spare as we come back to Park Place Lanes in Windham, New Hampshire. Love to see you for a taping sometime of Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Our next one here at Park Place will be a week from Tuesday, December 14th. We're here all day long. We start around 10:30 in the morning. We're here till 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We take a break for lunch in the middle, but other than that, we go all day, and we'd love to see you, especially if you've never had a chance to stop by before. Again, it will be Tuesday, December 14th, here at Park Place Lanes in Windham, New Hampshire, right off Route 93, exit 3, on Route 28.
It was a 7 on the spare and a 9 box. Gives him 62 at the halfway point, 2nd game. And here's a shot he's made earlier without any help. This time is the 3-6 and the 4-pin piece of wood in between.
One of our participating sponsors on Candlepin Stars and Strikes in this 4-week series, our good friend Emmett Horgan and the gang at Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan on Route 97 Main Street in Salem, New Hampshire. Come to Salem and save. Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan.
Dennis Shute off to a flying start this time with a spare and double strike. He has 77 already through 4 boxes. 1-3-7 left. Chance for another spare.
Not quite. Actually, going back to game 1, Dennis had 5 marks in a row because he ended the first game with a couple of spares and then had the good start here in the middle game. 86 half.
And a 24-pin advantage in this game and 28-pin advantage overall.
And another big first ball. Dennis Shute with another strike.
When he hits that 1-3 pocket, they just jump off that ball. Watch this. Looks like he might have the 4-10 left right there. There goes the 10 and finally the 4 for the strike.
4 strikes already for Dennis in the match, 3 of them in this game. Frank Rose looking for a carry here. Well, that might not work out too badly with the wood. We'll have to wait and see.
I think you have to hit it the same way as though the wood wasn't there. You have to come up high, right at the 3-pin. Red liner to the right, you're going to get the 3 and probably leave the 9-pin.
These are the 2 pins that go out on the half Worcester on the right-hand side.
Oh,
my.
The right idea, but actually it was too high in the wood. Not an easy shot.
Talked about this before, but for those of you who haven't heard us perhaps mention it, you get a good indication there, if you were watching closely, how far apart those 2 pins are, the 2 and the 9. You saw a piece of wood go end to end and roll right between them.
12 inches on center, those pins are. Look at that. Clears them both out without any wood.
I think he was mad. Now to lane 31, just missing the head pin, just slipped by.
Well, got a break there. Let's
how
see
about
if the 9
this?
pin's going to go out.
How about that for a break?
Still got a long ways to go, but I would say this is an important mark to get.
And he's got it.
Can't fall much further behind Dennis Shute. Already trailing by 29. Dennis is working on a strike in the 6th.
Each bowler with 7 marks, but the difference, the strikes.
Last time he had a strike on 31. He came back with another one on 32, and that close to another double strike.
Just hung on that one for the spare.
Already at 116 plus the ball in the 7th, as you can see, and only with 5 marks. Those double strikes really add up fast.
A little full that time. 6 drop on the spare for Dennis.
2, 4, 6, 7. Don't be surprised if he converts this the way he's throwing the ball right now. In fact, the wood is coming up. It looks like the 2, 4, 6 should go out there fairly easy if he hits the 2 pin. The 10 pin could be the problem. There it is. Watch out. Ooh, I thought maybe the wood would turn a little bit. The wood just didn't give him quite a angle enough to carry the 10 pin, but good effort.
And the 10 box. Boy, Dennis is almost guaranteed at least a 150 game, even without a mark the next time up. Frank Rose on a spare, just 5. For the spare, no. Leaving the 6 pin. .106 through 9. Well, let's see what Frank has here. The 1, 3, 7, and 10 with some moving wood.
And he's just got to concentrate on hitting that head pin this time. After that, he's got a good shot. Oh, boy.
No.
Just the 10 pin. He's going to find himself in a heap of trouble going into that 3rd game. He's down by 40 now. Dennis still has to bowl his 9th and 10th, and the way he's been bowling, I wouldn't be a bit surprised he puts another mark or 2 up there.
Back-to-back 116s for Frank Rose. Here's another look. Right around the 10 pin. 232 through 2 for Frank.
Light hit this time. Then 7 and 8 pins. Some playable wood that he's definitely going to have to use. Looks like he's just going to try to cap the one closest to him. Push it straight back.
Yes.
Off the wall. Nice shot by Dennis Shute. 142 in the 9th plus the ball. Needs a little help from the right side wall here.
the head pin again. 8 fill. That's 150 in the 9th.
.35 left, but he's got a roadblock out in front. He can see the 3-pin. He's going to have the wood come off the wall. And it does.
160 plus a ball to go for Dennis Shute. I wouldn't be shocked if he were to throw another strike. Got 3 in this game already, including a double early. This time it'll be a 6. 166 in the middle game for Dennis Shute, and a fine round of applause and a big lead for Dennis. 286 for the advantage after 2. We've got 1 game to go. We'll have it for you on Stars and Strikes in a minute. Don't go away. Dennis Shute, after a 166 middle game, ready for game 3.
He hated the break. He's been smoking.
Well, it doesn't seem to have hurt him at all, although that leave probably isn't what he would like. Let's see how the wood treats him here.
I'd like that front piece of wood to roll to the left and get out of his way, and if it gets by the front piece of wood, he should make the 9 and the 10 for another spare. Ooh.
Oh, yes.
Just got by it. In fact, he did clip that front piece of wood a little bit, but not enough to deflect the ball. Spare in the first, and he's off and running again.
That's 11 marks for Dennis Shute. And keep in mind that he didn't have his first mark until the 6th box of the match. A light hit, great mix, same leave. Different wood, though.
Nine and 10. As Doug said, this time 2 pieces of wood out in front. 2 more just hanging around. Will it be 2 in a row? Why not?
Oh, see, Dennis can use that for a great story now to tell his friends. He can say, yeah, I was on TV. I had the 9-10, 2 boxes in a row for a spare leave. Made it back to back. You can leave out the part about the wood.
That's right. Ooh, boy. Come on. Give him a break. Get out of there, 7-pin.
Oh, boy.
7-10. Well, he's got a piece of wood, so maybe he can keep the ball in play and have the ball go over and get the 10.
Yes! He did it! Oh! How about it one time for Frank Rose? Watch the ball.
Yes, sir. The only way. Spare leave every time.
And he takes advantage. 8 drops, spare leave.
Sometimes a shot like that, it's like a wake-up call to that bowler. Let's see what happens. He's got to try to keep pace with Dennis anyway. No, he's going to go far to the left. It's too bad. That might have been a first. I can't remember anyone making the 7-10 on the show before.
No, I don't either, even with the wood. Might have had somebody do it with a piece of wood, say, out in the middle of the lane.
Right.
Angled before,
right.
But never like that. Terrific shot. Dennis Shute working on a mark. And for the first time today, or first or second maybe, Dennis punches through the middle.
At least the first time in a long time today. Well, if he keeps a streak alive here with a mark, it's going to be a great one.
And the 8 box.
And 40 through 3.
Peter Flynn next week to take on the winner of this one. Peter, our defending Tri-State Megabucks champion from last spring.
Dennis is going to make this the 3, 7, and 10.
Oh, yeah. You knew it all the way, didn't you?
Oh, sure. At a nice angle of the wood right behind the 3-pin, right there. 2 chances because the wood was so close. Either the ball was going towards the 7 or the 3-pin itself.
Frank Rose slipping left a bit. Needs a break on that spinning wood. It's not going to touch anything. Just missing the head pin again. Cost him the spare.
It's hard to go back to 1 frame in this match, but we mentioned that spare 1 right there. Frank had a 5-pin lead, could have upped it into double figures. Only got 1 on the spare, and from that point on, Frank, different bowler, but definitely Dennis was a different bowler.
That's right.
Everything but the 7-pin.
If you go from the last 2 boxes of the first game through the first 2 boxes of this game, 14 boxes, Dennis Shute had 11 marks on those 14 boxes. And the 10 for Frank. We will break away. Dennis Shute working on a mark with the lead when we come back in a minute. Dennis Shute working on a mark in the 4th. Back row, is it? Yes, the back row.
Just when you think you've got this game figured out. You're 286 after 2 going along and bury one in the pocket and leave the 7, 8, 9, 10. Hello. 8, 9, 10 should go. The 7 is probably the one that's going to have the problem. No. Frank could show him how to make these 2, but I don't think Frank's in the mood to tell him how to make a shot. A little different than Frank's.
And it's a 9 box.
And ho-hum, it's a 65 half. Well on his way to 400. Actually, I want to jinx him. He can do it without a mark, but
yep.
5 boxes remaining. 2, 4, 7, 9, and 10. Piece of wood next to the 2-pin, which he'll play.
Will it carry? Yes. Fine shot for Dennis Shute.
Nothing is safe down there today with Dennis on the line.
That's his 14th mark of this match. 10 spares, 4 strikes. And meanwhile, Frank Rose just keeps getting hit with these kinds of leaves.
Well, the 5, 9, and the 7, piece of wood next to the 5. If he gets the 5-pin clean, he could push that wood into the 7.
Off the wall.
Well, let's do it the other way. Plan number 2 is... Not quite the way I think Frank played it, but he'll take it.
A 5-pin off the sidewall. And the fill will be 8.
And the 1 and the 7 pins left. Double piece of wood behind the head pin. Here's a situation here where you might want to miss the head pin and hit the wood on the far right-hand end, because he doesn't look like he has the angle. Of course, the other way is hit the ball, have the ball deflect. Nope, got it anyways.
That's mark number 10 for Frank Rose now.
Let's see what happens that second piece of wood. Nope, pretty hard to tell. Nice shot by Frank, though. 2 in a row. Still possibilities here, but starting to run out of boxes.
Dennis Shute on a spare. Pull that one a little bit. 5 fill.
All of a sudden, Dennis is getting the marks, but he's not getting the big fills that he did earlier in the match. Just a 5, a 6, a 4, on 3 of his 4 marks this game.
And the 8 box, 88 through 7. With that 166 that Dennis threw in the middle game. Some of you might be wondering about our highest single game scores. We've had 6 games thrown on Stars and Strikes in our almost 10 years on the air. 6 games of 180 or higher. The highest was a 196 by Rick Farwell back in 1984.
1984. Wow. That was one of the first ladders we had, too, wasn't it?
That's right. That's right. Just a couple months after we came on. A rare occurrence. 2 open boxes for Dennis Shute. So, with some numbers here, Frank Rose could make this interesting.
Especially if he were to throw a couple strikes.
Oh, pretty close.
Good enough for a strike. Everything but the 10-pin. Now the single pins have been giving him trouble all day long. If he ever needs one, it's now.
There it is. 3 marks in a row for Frank Rose, and he'll be cutting into this big deficit. But as you said, Dan, it's getting toward strikes time.
He's had, what, one strike all day?
Right, that was back in the first game.
Well, can't believe he won't throw another one before the match is over, but if that 3-pin were to fall backwards, you know, just got to keep marking. 3, 6, 10.
That's it. That's 4 in a row. What that does is...
See the replay of that spare.
That puts Frank at 111 plus a ball. Dennis could still close Frank out mathematically here in the final 2, but he'll need a mark to do it now.
Well, you'd love that deadwood right down the center of the lane to move over next to the 610, but it's not going to. He might want to think about capping that. Now he's going after the 610.
$9.
1 open frame. That's what Frank Rose wants. He'd like him to be open here, too. Still give him a chance.
Off the head pin.
1, 3, 6, and 9, and also the 4, 7 in the left-hand corner.
Well, Dennis will be open. He's at 401 right now. Well, he had kind of a slow start and a bit of a slow finish, but the middle was terrific. Good enough for a 403 for Dennis Shute with the 117 third game. So that means that Frank Rose has got to get up to 171 in order to tie this thing, which means he needs strikes.
Needs some strikes.
But he can do it. Oh, there's one! Wow. I think Frank had a feeling that was going to go. He was pretty excited about that ball when he let it go.
I've known Franks for years, and 30 boxes, only 1 strike. You got to figure he's going to throw at least another one, but that was big. The next one would be huge.
Right. This is the one that could really make it interesting.
Looks good. Oh, my. Oh, my.
Oh, boy. He got robbed that time. Well, that's going to do it. Mathematically, Dennis Shute will be the winner. But, boy, a great charge by Frank Rose here at the end of this match. And the fill on the strike, 147, and that does it. Frank Rose with a nice charge at the end, but Dennis Shute hangs on for the win with the 403, and we'll be back to talk to the bowlers in a minute. Frank Rose here, and Frank, that check for $100 for you, and our congratulations. Glad to have you on for your first appearance. Dennis threw some strikes at you there, got a lot of marks together, and that was pretty much it.
Big offense to second string.
We appreciate your joining us, and we're running out of time, so perhaps next time we'll get a chance to chat a little longer. Thanks, Frank. All right, Frank Rose. And now Dennis Shute with our bonus ball. We have $20 on the line in the jackpot today, as we had a winner last week. We had a couple of winners recently, so let's see if Dennis can't give us another one. Wait a minute. We've got a rocking pin. It'll be 6 for Mr. Murphy on the draw, and not a winner for, how about this, Mrs. Pearl 6. Pearl 7, you're a winner maybe, but not. Pearl 6 is the name, and her guess was 7 from Salem, New Hampshire, so Pearl will be sending you a gift as a consolation prize. Congratulations, sir. It's been a while, and boy, you got it all done in kind of the middle of the match there.
Yeah, right in the middle.
Peter Flynn next week.
That'll be easy.
You've heard of him, right? Okay. We'll see you then. Thanks very much, Dennis. And we hope to see you next week, too. We're fresh out of time here on Stars and Strikes. From Park Place Lanes in Wyndham, for Dan Murphy and the whole crew, I'm Doug Brown. See you next week, everybody.